early.
Okay. Hi everybody, this is How to Get Through the Tough Times, and I'd like to introduce you to physiotherapist Geoff Ford from Strong Physio on the Sunshine Coast up here. He's passionate about helping people defeat their pain and get strong for life. Hi Geoff. We've also got Sharon Jurd, who helps you grow your business to have more time, more money, and more life. Hi, Sharon.
Hi.
And Michelle Patton of Patton Therapy. She's a psychotherapist, nearly said psychologist, counsellor and coach based in New South Wales. Hi, Michelle.
How are you?
So thanks all for joining me. Oh, I'm Venessa, by the way, of Mind Body Clinical Hypnotherapy. I do hypnotherapy and coaching and a little bit of Pilates and yoga on the side as well for anyone who needs it. So, how to get through the tough times. My question for you is, what is a tough time for you? Haha. Who'd like to go first?
I'm happy to go first. I think for people, tough times have very different levels. But from a person who owns a business perspective, is that your business will always go through ebbs and flows. And really, to grow, you need to go along, and then you'll sort of dip down, and then you'll increase higher at a higher level than you were in the first place. And then you'll go along, and then you'll think you're going through another tough time, but it won't be as tough as the last time. It's sort of, it's that gradual increase of your learning, but you do need to go through those times of ebbs and flows in your business, because you have to learn, you have to break through, you have to grow yourself. And so when I feel like, this is a tough time, then I know I'm about to learn new skills, think differently, pivot in my business or my life. And I know that I'm going to go, I visualize that graph and visualize it going up. And so when I'm in that time, for me, I internalize that I'm grateful for that's happening. I don't dwell in the negativity of that. And, start, doing that external blaming, of the economy or the government or other people. What I do is go, what do I need to learn? How can I grow myself to take me up to that next level?
I was just talking to a client this morning about this. So it's interesting you say that, and ways of, for people who aren't used to staying on that level and feeling, okay, what am I learning from this? What am I gaining from this? How to allow them to lean into it and see it as a good thing.
It's kind of jumping on the back of what Sharon said. It is exactly that. And there's a term in therapy that we use, which is out of stuckness comes growth. So at the times in your life where you don't actually feel like you've got momentum, you don't feel like you're going there, it doesn't feel sexy and exciting, that's the time where you're actually going, what do I need to do? Do I need to change course of action? Is this lifestyle, is this job working for me? Is this city working for me? And even though we feel that stuck, so I kind of say sometimes toughness is stuckness, that is the time when we're actually making big decisions about where we're going to go next. So it's really kind of it's the growth. And I always say mushrooms go in poo, and sometimes when you're actually feeling that, oh god, this is so crappy, there's mushrooms growing all over, and that's the time then when you're going to use that to springboard forward. So I've been through a recent one myself, and I just keep, my mantra is, out of stuckness comes growth. We're just waiting, we're just preparing now for the next launch. So so it works very much, as Sharon says, from that business perspective, but also from the perspective of the self.
Yeah. Geoff, what about your mushrooms?
I think everyone's in agreement on this. I think taking ownership of the situation as much as you can is super important. I guess the most recent example that everyone can relate to is all the changes that would have happened through, coronavirus or COVID or whatever you want to term it. I know personally, for me, it pretty much meant I closed down my physio business. I'd only just started it up in December. And it was just starting to build up some momentum, but I just made the call to close it, both from not wanting to spread the virus to the community, but then also to our young family and to my wife, who just had an emergency cesarean. So I thought it was a good time just to close up. And out of that, there's been some real positives. I mean, number one, it's been a great opportunity to spend some quality time with my two little boys and my wife. But it's also been good to reflect on where the business is going and think, hey, moving forwards, where are the opportunities? So rather than focusing on the negatives, I think it's so important to look at what some of the potential openings and the positives are. And I always try to do that in a clinical sense for physio as well. Like someone will come in with, say, an injured arm, and you think all they can focus on is, hey, I can't do this particular movement. Maybe it's scratching their back, and you think, well, okay, you can't do that, but think about all the things you can do. You've got two great functioning legs, you've got a whole range of exercises you can even do with your sore arm. Let's start strengthening up your body and improving your body rather than stagnating and focusing on what you can't do.
That's a great example. And what would you say goes by the wayside, when you are going through tough times? Often for my clients, I have a lot of anxiety and weight loss clients, and healthy diet and exercise goes, and their anxiety springs. So for me, it's teaching them how to deal with that and what to do with that when they can feel that rising. How would you describe what you do for yourself when that comes up, tough times, and what would be the thing that would be slipping or would want to slip, and how do you catch it to turn it around?
What order? Does anyone else want to go first? Okay. Interesting question. I think I think diet can definitely slip. I think it's easy to, especially when this recent stuff all happened, it's easy to go, hey, I had a stressful day, I might grab a glass of wine or a beer, or I might just eat some, a bit of extra chocolate. I don't think I ever go quite off the chocolate, but grab a little extra. For me personally, it's not usually exercise that slips, because I think that's just something I enjoy doing so much that it's a bit of a must for me. It's not, I don't ever think, hey, I've really got to exercise. It's something that I'm naturally sort of incentivized to do, which I know other people definitely struggle with. But yeah, I think for me, the thing that was going to slip first would probably be the food side of things, definitely.
Sharon, what would yours be?
Well, me personally, well, first thing I want to say is that when you're going through tough times, you actually have to get your priorities right. And I think that through tough times, you have to look within. And I think that needs to be your priority, is your diet, your exercise, your self-care, your own mindfulness, and using techniques around that. So when I'm going through tough times, I get back to the basics of looking after myself. It's like putting your oxygen mask on first to help others, and make sure that I'm heightening those areas that are important. But also, I drop off a lot of other stuff, and it's okay to drop it off, because when, depending on what circumstance you're going through, I say to a lot of my coaching clients is just do the top 10%. You can't do everything while you've got this chaos going on, depending on what it is. But what's the top 10% that's most important to you? Diet, exercise, mindfulness, your own health, well-being. Put that to the top. And if that's the only thing you do today, then you can, you're ticking a lot of boxes. And for me, I'm not like Geoff. I really need a personal trainer to, boot my bum to get me to training, every day. But I put that system in place because it is important to me. And so what I say to my clients is, what's the systems, or what we call, your rituals, which become habits, and what systems do you need to put in place to make sure that they do stay important for you? Because exercise is important for me. So I've got the personal trainer as my system, because I know I'll turn up to that appointment every time. So when you're going through tough times, I go, well, what's the system to make sure that the top 10% gets covered?
Michelle?
Very similar to both, actually. In those sort of anxious times, I do actually do a lot of awareness work, which is, I'm aware I'm feeling like this, and I'm feeling like that, and I'm feeling like this. But then it's actually not trying to free fall, like Geoff gave the example of the food. It's almost like, well, I've had a chocolate bar now, I may as well now go and eat the packet of crisps, the takeaway, the pizza, the blah blah, and stack it up, because I've wrecked my diet now, I've got to go eat the world. If you think in that terms, well, I kind of lean into it and acknowledge what's going on. And then I kind of, very much what Sharon said as well, kind of claw it back. Well, what can I manage? What can I mean, some people use the word control, but it's what can I manage? What am I the chief of? So I'm the chief of doing my exercise, I'm the chief of my food, I'm the chief of organising what I need to organise, so that top priority. And very much like Geoff, my exercise is my sort of, not that I have to do, it's that I kind of want to do. But like Sharon, I always arrange to meet somebody to go out for a run with. So I get there because I know myself, when my alarm goes off, I'm not going to jump out and do it. But if I've arranged to meet my friend, I will. So you will never see me out running on my own, because even though exercise is my must, I do need somebody to get me that solution focused. And it's sort of a bit of self-coaching, really. And that is part of getting to know yourself. You know what gets you going and what keeps you on track. So I use those resources to keep myself on track and managing the best I can the things that I can manage.
I find that a lot with my clients, because obviously, weight loss and anxiety, I do ask them to exercise for different reasons. But a lot of people will think, exercise is they have to go to the gym or run, and you can see their faces go, oh my God, I can't do it. And, it might not be that they can't go for a run, for example, but it might be that they might need someone to run with, just to have that chat and have someone to meet, someone to have to be accountable to, or they might need a personal trainer to push them, because not everybody unfortunately can just go out there and do it. I remember as well, once in my life I could run by myself, run every week, run consistently, absolutely no problem. Now totally different. So I think a lot of the time people come with a version of themselves that's in the past, or a version of themselves that they want to be, and they're in the middle and they don't know how to be themselves right now.
Oh, and especially with exercise, because we were working together when you were training for the marathon. I remember that, and I was like, she's insane. And now I'm do a half marathon nearly.
Yeah, you're insane.
So so it is that. But on my kind of fitness journey, I've been through, like, I used to be an avid CrossFitter, and then I had my baby number 3, and I just went back, oh, I don't like this. But I knew that it's not that I don't like it, full stop, but for now it's just not for me. And so I've moved through all sorts of things to, okay, that's not for me right now, let's not put pressure on that. Cycling, running, swimming, or the great one, meeting a friend for a walk.
Yeah,
walk and talk. Instead of going for a coffee, go for a walk and a talk.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people think, oh, I should be doing something, you know, and think that one thing, you know, is the cookie cutter, or they've done it for, like you say, for so many years. It's great to change it up and pivot, and, you know, that's not, you didn't fail at that, it's just you're changing at that. And like you, Michelle, I went through, you know, where I was a runner and I'm not running at the moment, and I had to change my thinking of, you know, I can be fit and have all of the positives of running using another, you know, exercise format, and that, you know, I could still get all the benefits from what I was getting from running, you know. And so some people hang on to that, oh, well, I did, I know that I went, I need to run because I was getting all these positives, but then I found another way of getting the same outcomes but doing something different.
And that's similar to what Geoff was saying about his patients, in that, you know, you can get stuck with, this is what I like and this is what I do. And if, say, for instance, you get injured or something happens that you can't go out for the run, it often stops people dead, rather than them thinking outside the square and going, okay, what else can I do, or what else can I try? Because often people are so stuck in their ways that they're just blinkered, and they are a runner, for example, and they wouldn't once consider going to a Zumba class or something like that, you know. And I think it just shows how in the box a lot of the time people are, because almost they don't want to be seen as not good at something. I was talking to another client of mine about dancing, and because she wasn't good at the dancing, she didn't want to go again. And I can totally relate to it, because when I lived in Sydney, they used to have So You Think You Can Dance dancers as instructors at the gym that I used to go to at the time. So I went with a friend to a dance class. I knew I'd be awful. I just loved it, and I wanted to be one of these dancers on So You Think You Can Dance. So in my head, I didn't care. I was just loving the music and loving bopping around. I felt a bit stupid that I was going the wrong way, but to me, it was good fun. Whereas to this client that I was talking about, it was the end of the world. And I just got her to think a little bit differently and think, well, did you like the music? Did you like the atmosphere? And she started thinking about other things rather than, I can't do it, I'm not good at it. And it changed her whole perception.
Yeah, I agree. My story is that, you know, I can totally relate to that. I was hanging on to the running, and I sat and did nothing, you know, and started to put on the weight, eat, you know, and all of that stuff, thinking, oh, my life's over, I'm mid-40s and I can't run, you know, and to change that and, you know, be able to believe that you can do something differently and have great outcomes is a massive shift for people.
And finding that something that you can potentially go and learn that's new, and that you can enjoy the process of learning. I think it's a huge process. And I think the running is such a good example. When you're all talking about that, it's something that you really pick up with it. Like, a lot of clients will come and see me, and they'll go, oh, I've got to get fit, I've got to lose weight, whatever the thing is, but I've got to start getting back into running. I ran 20 years ago, and I'm trying to say, hey, look, there's so many other options. You don't have to run. Like, if that's what you enjoy doing, by all means, let's get you running. But if that's the only way that people think that they should exercise, then it's so good to sit down and go, hey, these are some other options. And when you start something new, I think almost bringing an awareness to the fact that you have to be bad at something before you can be good at it, and learning to accept that. And I talk to people at the stages of learning, and you almost can't skip the bad stage, because that's such an important part of learning, is that trial and error, and being bad at something, you actually learn a lot better from that. I know I'm really slow at learning new things, and I've tried to force myself to pick up some new things over the last few years. Like, I teach kettlebell training. It was only something I picked up a few years ago, through necessity because we had our little boy coming and it was just too hard to get to the gym. So I thought, that's it, I'm going to delve into that. And I was terrible at it. I'd try and get classes, get coaching from people, and I'd be really frustrated by that process. But I went away and I spent the time by myself practicing, learning. And now it's my real passion for exercise. I love kettlebells and I love sharing with other people, but I try and encourage people from the outset to understand that, you do need to be bad at it. And look, if you're the type of person that hates looking silly in front of other people, which I can totally relate to, then it means maybe spending a bit of time at home practicing it. But if you don't mind it, then maybe it's better to join a group. So there's always different options. And I think bringing that awareness to people can be a huge thing.
I think the awareness as well for people that, they're not the only one feeling that way. You might go to a class and be learning, and someone next to you might feel even worse than you. But because you're so in that bubble of, oh my God, I'm doing it wrong, I don't know left from right, you just think, you can feel yourself going bright red. But if you think, oh, that poor person, just tripped over, you can go, okay, everybody's not a professional in here.
And the thing is as well, because Venessa and I used to work together at a fitness studio in a past lives for both of us. And I was doing my training one time, but it was in this big gym, and I used to go about 4:00, and there was all the construction guys in at that time after just clocking off, and I got quite self-conscious, and the lady that I was going through the training with actually said to me, look in the mirror there, and the gyms have got all the big mirrors, and she went, who's looking at you? Nobody's looking at you. Everybody's just more interested in themselves than actually looking at you. And then the other thing that I think about sport as well is we need to think about why we're actually doing it. Are we doing it because we enjoy it, we like it, and we're going to get fit, or are we doing it for recognition? Are we doing it for the recognition or the notoriety, or are we just doing it just because we just want to have a bit of fun and just keep fit? So I've kind of, as I've got sort of in mid to late 40s, I've lost quite a lot of that wanting recognition, and I kind of go, I've just finished the course, or I might do something and I'll do it slower than I did it last time, but I just think, yes, but I'm not sitting on the couch, I'm still getting up and I'm still doing it, so that's good enough for me.
And I think that's quite a good point, Michelle, that we've all come from somewhere, and even if you're just starting off improving, whether it be fitness or anxiety or an injury or your business, you've come from somewhere, and to look back and go, well done for getting there, because often we don't congratulate ourselves for things, be it little things or massive things. We just go through and go, oh, but I should be doing this better, or I could have done more. And I think, especially in my work, that congratulating yourself and actually recognizing the steps that you have been through, or the work you've done towards something, the self-determination and the self-belief, is really important.
Yeah, and I think you don't see those small changes about yourself a lot of times. Like, I go to my personal trainer, these weights are heavy, he goes, yes, but it's heavier than what you were lifting last year, so you don't sort of realise that you're doing more, you're expanding that bandwidth of your knowledge or your capabilities. But sometimes it still feels heavy, but yeah, it's you're a totally different person, and sometimes you don't even realise.
Yeah,
that's huge, Sharon. I think that's a big job of health professionals and in general is celebrating those wins and making people aware of them too. I think I was actually listening to a really interesting podcast on this in relation to physios and chiros and stuff. And we always pick out problems with people rather than try and find what they're doing right with people, or doing right. So even if it's starting out a new exercise, rather than saying, hey, look, what your knees are wobbling around or your back's doing something funky, like, hey, you just did a squat. Let's see if you can go a little bit deeper. You're doing really well with that. Like, just be the encourager, because you're not going to build people up. Our job is to help people and build people up, not pick them apart and pick out all their little issues.
Yeah, I think we need, as coaches in any industry, that we have to be their raving fan.
Yeah.
That sometimes, in their life, they don't have anyone cheering them on, and I think that's a great role for us, to be cheering them on and being their biggest fan.
In my Pilates career, let's call it, seems forever, I have learned along the way about cueing people, so telling people how to move their body to get the right result. And it's really interesting watching other instructors and instructors that are learning, because I've done a little bit of examining on courses, how easy it is to say, don't do that, no, not that, and use all the negatives to instruct people. And by changing the language around to more positive, so for example, with Geoff's example of the wobbling knees, instead of saying, no, your knees are wobbling, just say, draw your knees together more or something like that. The difference in the client is amazing. Their face will light up because they're feeling like they're doing something right. And at the end of the day, that's human nature. We just want to know that we're doing something right and we're succeeding.
Yeah, we do. And it's kind of like that strength-based work that I think we've all kind of spoke about. And individually, we don't, as human beings, don't necessarily always see our strength. We're really good at self-flagellation and trying to make ourselves, I need to improve this, I need to improve that we do actually forget about the things that we're actually really good at. And I think that is as well because we're used to it, and so we kind of go, yeah, pack that and just work on what we're not good at, and then we lose that kind of sense of warmth and achievement about what we are good at, about our strengths. Yeah, for sure.
And do you think that comes a little bit with age?
I don't know, because I think when we're kids that we have it. I certainly know that some of I've got 3 kids, and it's still primary school age, and I love actually hearing them say, I'm really good at running, and you kind of go, yes, you are. And it's just that they might be the last in the race, but they'll finish, and it doesn't matter to them. That actually comes as we get older. I'm really good at running, and I came first. You're clearly not, but okay. But and I'm really good at cartwheels, and it's only when they actually get with a group of people that might actually have a skill level that's slightly above them that they suddenly go, oh. And then you can actually see the tick of a person about whether they're going to go, oh, I actually want to do that, so I'm going to go, or you'll see a tick in another person that goes, oh, I'm not that good, I have to give up now. And it's quite interesting to actually watch how when people do get in a room of people that's got that skill set better, and you see it a lot in children about whether they go, show me how to do that, I want to be able to do it, or whether they put the tail between the legs and walk off and go, oh no, I'm really not good. So if they didn't have an audience, their sense of self is, I'm brilliant at running, I'm brilliant at cartwheels. So it's only when we put ourselves in relationship with the rest of the world that we start this competition. Where am I? Where am I in the pecking order? Am I top, middle, bottom?
Yeah, it's where the ego starts, and your ego is taking top priority, or whether just you as a person. And
it's just joy, like we said before. You might not be doing a perfect cartwheel, but do you get fun out of doing the cartwheel? So again, those elements kind of come in, and what are we doing it for? Are we doing it for recognition, to be the best, or to have fun? So it kind of all and blend in that way.
What do you think is a great tip to deal with uncertainty going forward? Because with all this that we've been through with COVID, you know, I think uncertainty has been the main overriding problem with it all. Excuse me. And what would you say to people to help them with that moving forward? Because there will always be times in uncertainty, whether it's in your own life or whether something like this happens in the world again or something different.
Well, I can go first if you like. I think my advice is to acknowledge that there is always uncertainty. You know, even before COVID-19, we didn't know what was going to happen tomorrow. That's why we didn't know that COVID-19 was going to happen. You know, and you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day or the next day. And, you know, there's got to be a bit of yin and yang. You can't have all certainty and no uncertainty. So, you know, you have to appreciate both sides, you know, and a lot of us think that we're certain, but we're not. And once you acknowledge that, you sort of just let it go. And like, you know, Michelle was saying earlier, is that, you know, manage the things that you can manage. Don't try and control the things that you can't, and particularly in uncertainty. But go, okay, this is what I'm certain of. You know, I'm certain, you know, about my relationships, you know, my health, my well-being, my family, and get certain on a lot of things that you can be, and then focus on that. And like Geoff was saying earlier, you know, focus on what you can't do. So you start focusing on the things that you're not certain about. Just focus on the things that you are. You know, and then that just, you know, it brings a calmness about it, and going, yeah, there's loads of things. You know, write down 100 things you're certain about. And, you know, and then you go, well, you know, there are many things that, you know, we're certain about. So, you know, focus on that. Yeah.
And knowing, I think, with that, Sharon, that the human brain is kind of put together to go more on the negative side of things. So it's normal to have those doubting, worries about self-belief, or the negative thinking, and it is our job to take us to positive. It's not just going to happen like drop of a hat or wave your wand. We do actually have to do something about it and think positively to enable those neurons to grow.
And allow yourself, you know, that you won't stop the thoughts coming in. We all have those thoughts every day. It's just how we deal with them. We don't live there. And for me, I pull myself up and I go, this is not how I want to think. And it may have been how I used to behave or used to think, but that's not me now. And I imagine it just flowing through me. It doesn't stay here. And I don't push it aside, but I acknowledge it, deal with it, you know, and then I let it flow through, so that, you know, I can then go, this is how I'm thinking now, and this is how I want my thoughts to be. And like you say, you know, put that new path of, you know, your neurology in place.
That's good, Sharon. And I think as I guess we've all sort of alluded to, that uncertainty is a good thing. I think if we had certainty in life, we knew when we were going to die, when we were going to get sick, all these sorts of things, it would be terrible. Yeah. And uncertainty is like the place of dreams. We can think, hey, what do we really want to achieve? What do we want to be able to do? So I think turning it around a little bit is a really positive thing to do.
And it is actually, I never thought about it that way, Geoff, but if you were going into a marriage and you knew you were going to get divorced, you'd never do it. Or if you were going to go into the sea and you were going to get bitten by a shark, you just wouldn't do it. But just in general, the certain times is, like we've said, it kind of relates back to how we opened the session today, but it's also just it's like doing a jigsaw. I have a format for doing a jigsaw. I do the borders first, and, you know, just look at the little pieces and break it down. And I think sometimes, you know, if you look at the big, I don't know, think about it as a big pizza. If you pick up the whole pizza and shove it in your mouth, you're not going to get very far. But if you cut it into slices, it's quite easy and quite palatable and quite easy to chew and digest. And I think that about certain times in life, break it down, take a bite, chew on it. Is it palatable? Digest it, and then go back for the next slice.
Wise words. Now, I know you all have a little something for people who are listening, so I'll let you explain what you have to offer. Geoff, go for it.
I would love to offer anyone, it would obviously be local people here on the Sunshine Coast, but I have a strength testing machine. So I sort of hook people up to this machine, and we can figure out if they've got any little asymmetries or things that could be feeding into any pain that they have. So I'm happy to run people through like a complimentary session if they want to get in contact with me, and I'll take them through that, and we can figure out whether they've got any issues that they need to be addressing, or whether they check out and got a nice clean bill of health.
I'm quite excited about that, Geoff. You'll see me there.
I'm up in 2 weeks.
Really interesting. I love nerding out on it and getting all the data behind people and stuff. It's fascinating, actually.
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Sharon, what have you got?
So I have an online program called 12-Week Business Academy, and I'm offering the first 10 people free access to that. So it's usually $1,497. So you get a lifetime access, but there's 12 modules, and it goes through not only business but yourself. You know, what fears do you have? Why are you in business? Why are you here? Why are you doing this? But also we get into, all of the logistics around business, about, your ideal weeks are done, your marketing plan's done, your social media plan's done, your networking plan's done, just following this very simple 12-week program. And I'm telling you, you don't have to have, a science degree to, work it out. This is really simple steps. And I'd love to offer this to the first 10 people to jump in and complete the modules.
Fabulous. Michelle.
So for me, I am not unfortunately in Queensland, but there you go. So for the first 5 callers, a free 45-minute session on either if therapy is for you and there's something that you want to explore, so if you want to take it further, or a 45 session on just talking about wellness coaching. The first 5 people.
Fabulous. So I am offering a free call to anyone who would like coaching and hypnotherapy for weight loss or anxiety. And with that will come their initial session for free. So that's massive value, and I'm looking forward to who calls. Thank you all so much for your time. Here's to mushrooms. We've just talked about washing our faces and then exercising, so we're balanced. Thank you all for your time, and if anyone wants to get in touch with any of the people on the panel today, I will have their details, email, website, Facebook pages, all that kind of stuff. So feel free to get in contact and ask questions, and I will definitely be on Geoff's back asking for a test.
Awesome. Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you, Sharon. Thanks, Michelle.
Bye.